along with my esteemed co-host, Chris Camella. What up, Chris?
Back from Japan, so I guess the best greeting would be konnichiwa, Chaz. Konnichiwa. It feels good to be back, my brother. Arigato gozaimasu. Arigato
How many
gozaimasu.
times did you say that?
Oh, dude. Well, first of all, can I be honest with you? The best time I said it was when the trip ended. That's when I had my best arigato gozaimasu. Outside of that, the other previous 8-9 days, I was there for 10. I sucked ass at saying that. So, arigato gozaimasu, oishi, which means delicious, konnichiwa, and then there was one other one's, gosh, you're welcome. I can't say it. But anyways, life-changing experience, amazing trip, but it feels good to be back, talking hoops. First of all, Chaz, before you get into the breakdown of everything, congratulations to the UCLA women's team for their national championship, and congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines. The Big Ten has owned the start of 2026 with 3 national championships. Indiana, UCLA women's, and now Michigan Wolverines, their first title since 1989. Another summer. And so shout out to Michigan and UCLA. Back to you, sir. Break it all down.
In the words of Mr. Buckwheat himself, whoopee. Congrats to the UCLA women's for winning another championship for the city of LA. Speaking of LA, Chris, the professional basketball team in Los Angeles, not being the Clippers, the Lakers are in an absolute free fall right now. They lose Luka, they lose AR, they lose Bron for a game. I think he'll play on Thursday, in my opinion, or tomorrow, I should say. But you're down 4 starters, essentially, because Marcus Smart was starting some games because he's been out as well. And you're at one point in the first quarter, you're starting 3 or 4, or you're playing 3 or 4 guys, and you're going up against the best team in the NBA. You got to know that you're probably going to lose this game more than anything. But JJ Redick is just looking for some fight out of his guys. And in the first couple minutes, Rui Hachimura doesn't run to his spot. You hear JJ, Rui, get to your effing spot. And he calls a timeout, takes him out. Jared Vanderbilt gets fouled on a 3 at the end of the first quarter, misses all 3 free throws. DeAndre Ayton can't catch the fucking ball. This has been all season except for the 2 weeks that thankfully they happened in March. DeAndre Ayton's best part of the season was in correlation with the Lakers' win streak, which was the best part of the season. But it makes me think, man, Lakers could have locked up a top 2 seed if DeAndre Ayton would have played like that for the majority of the season. I say all that to say JJ Redick let his team have it, specifically Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt had something to say to JJ Redick after he got taken out and had to be, I don't want to say held back. I think it's misreported to say he held him back. But you know how Vando gets in between maybe Luka and the refs when Luka's doing his thing. AR came up, Nate McMillan came up, kind of just separated himself from JJ Redick when obviously Vando was hot. And I get it from Vando's perspective. You're up and down. You don't get played. We don't have anybody. You're playing Drew Timme and Bronny and Dalton Connect in the first quarter of this game.
Right.
At least give me some run. And no, Vando, you get no run, dog. And you want to know why? Because we are tired of watching you miss and clank corner threes. We are tired of it. We are tired of you missing free throws. We are tired of you causing turnovers. We love the defense, but there's the other side of the game. And just like many people will say, Luka doesn't play defense, he's just offense. Vando is a worser version of that. Worser is not a word, but you understand what I mean. JJ Redick called out his players after the game, saying DeAndre Ayton just hasn't been catching the ball. Rui Hachimura, straight up, didn't do his job. Yeah. Vanderbilt, it's not personal. You saying it's not personal makes me think that it is personal. That's just me.
Pattern of behavior. Pattern of behavior.
So,
but not just pattern. Go ahead. You know, you're rolling. Keep doing your thing.
I'll give it to you here. Yeah. In saying all of that, Was JJ Redick fair or foul in his comments post game and how he handled this game in real time? Because I know you were watching.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I got back into town last week, man. Before I left, the Lakers capped off an amazing month of March, 15-2. And they were beating the Houston Rockets. They beat the Denver Nuggets. Both of those teams, they beat them multiple times. They had a very successful road trip. They skunked the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then all of a sudden, one bad night in Oklahoma City where they were already getting romped and stomped, even with the healthy Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. And to make matters worse, as if that's not enough, you lose both of those guys to non-contact injuries, right? Austin Reeves goes down with the oblique injury. It's found out he's down 4 to 6 weeks, but really it was also Luka Doncic before that with the hamstring strain, 4 to 6 weeks. Both of them are now literally left Dodge to try to get some experimental treatment done in Spain in the hopes of trying to return by the first round of the playoffs, which is less than 2 weeks away. So all of a sudden, one bad night, Chaz, in Oklahoma City has led to this free fall that you're describing, where the Lakers have now lost 3 in a row, 2 of the times to Oklahoma City, who ran them off the court both games and swept the season series. Obviously, OKC still had some things to play for. They have not clinched the number 1 seed yet. They're looking to become the 3rd team in the last, 15 years to do that, to win the West 3 consecutive years. The Lakers did it from 2008 to 2010, and the Golden State Warriors did it from 2015 through 2017. So I understand OKC needs to still take these games seriously, even though they were down J-Dub last night. Here's the problem. It's just funny to me that you're as angry as you are, and yet 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, I should say, we were all collectively in LA singing a different tune, thinking to ourselves, can the Lakers challenge the Spurs and potentially the Oklahoma City Thunder in a series? Like, all of a sudden, we went from, wow, maybe the Lakers can get out of the first round, unlike what I've been saying for months, and possibly still get eliminated, to all of a sudden now, we can't wait for this. You tweeted out yesterday, I can't wait for this season to be done. I can't, get rid of Ayton, get rid of Vando, clean house and everything like that. It's just funny to me what a difference a week makes and what a difference a couple of injuries make. Now, let me go back to your point about JJ Redick. I never answered that question.
Oh no. In the middle of him about to answer the question, his connection is starting to. Chris, Are you with us?
I'm with you. I'm over here. I'm a visitor on the court, but let me go back to answering your question. First of all, can you hear me okay?
I answer that
first. Okay.
Yeah.
They were fair points, but maybe with a foul tone. And that happens sometimes. I don't blame JJ Redick I'm just telling you, Chaz. I may agree with him. You may agree with him. But will Vanderbilt and DeAndre Ayton agree with him? You know what I mean? Now, clearly he was frustrated, not because of the loss. He saw that coming, but we can't lose like that on top of being out talented. We can't have these issues of not being on the same page or anything like that. That was a major issue. And Vanderbilt, all season long, his role has fluctuated, and even that's putting it kindly, right? His role has fluctuated. So now I think part of the face-to-face that he had with Redick last night was a byproduct and a culmination of the frustration that he has felt this season, that he thought his role was going to be more enhanced. He was past the foot problems, the surgeries and everything like that. And yet he still has not been able to, even on a night where 5 significant players are missing, I still can't crack the rotation. But you're right. A lot of that is because Vando has not improved to the point offensively where he can be trusted. And Ayton is being who he's been the last 3-4 years. Whose fault is it this time, DeAndre? It was Monty Williams and Devin Booker and Chris Paul in Phoenix. It was Chauncey Billups and a bad organization in Portland. Whose fault is it now? Whose fault is it now, bro? At some point, you're going to have to live with the fact that this is who you are. And by the way, this was your last chance to maybe lock up a triple digit, a 9-digit contract. I don't think that's going to happen now.
No.
Ever. You are a middling role player spot starter, and you're going to probably be a journeyman the rest of your career. Sorry, not sorry. That's the fact. Go ahead.
DeAndre Ayton will never make more than $10 million in a season ever again. Again. This is the last year that will happen. Because number one, because he's only getting older. Number two, he just isn't going to have that many opportunities. You got to play with LeBron James and Luka Doncic, and this is the season that you had. And it is very clear and apparent that you only had the season you had, which wasn't great. If it, I just think ultimately, for not even DeAndre, I'm gonna just talk to Vando. Malik Beasley, that was the first guy in that. Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell, and Vando were three players that the Lakers got at the trade deadline that helped them get to the Western Conference Finals.
2023, yeah.
Albeit they had a great run, they ran into a buzzsaw, which was the Denver Nuggets, and lo and behold, it's a few years later, and that's still my pick to win the NBA championship this year. And based on how Jokic played against Wemby on Saturday, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Because I do think that the Thunder can be had this year. Not last year, this year. Because they already got that chip. So ultimately, for OKC, they're right where they need to be. But JJ doing what he's done, here's the thing. He's walking a fine line because you can only call your players out publicly like he has so many times in a season. You only can play that card so many times. So when I say I didn't say last night I couldn't wait for the season to be over. I cannot wait for the roster to be turned over, because you knew that when the Lakers got Luka Doncic last year that they were going to do what they could this year, but this upcoming summer was the summer to really build around Luka. And it's very obvious who should stay and who shouldn't. And honestly, the only player that I would feel absolutely comfortable with that's not named LeBron James is Luke Kennard, because he's the best shooter in the league by percentage. Now, he's not great defensively, but he is a high IQ player. He listens to JJ Redick. He obviously has said the right things about playing hard last night after post-game. He's a player I'd like to keep. Rui, I've been down on Rui ever since he came to the Lakers, and even though he played better under JJ Redick last year, he hasn't been great this year, and he's just not a player that I want to count on for the foreseeable future. Jackson Hayes, he's actually a guy I might keep, but he may go get some more money elsewhere because we're not paying you more than the minimum, quite honestly. So there's just guys on the team that are just not going to be on the team next year. Marcus Smart, I'd be shocked if he didn't exercise his player option. DeAndre Ayton is going to have to get traded because there's no way he's opting out. He'd be an idiot to opt out because he's getting $9 million next year. He sure as hell ain't getting that from anybody else. He's not even getting that from the Pelicans or the Brooklyn Nets next year. So I think that what JJ Redick said was foul. This is pro sports. Let me say it again. This is pro sports. Who gives a fuck about how you say anything? Tell the truth. Darvin Ham said it, facts over feelings. And he was a mild-mannered guy. But JJ Redick is doing exactly what I would do as a coach, and is saying everything that I am saying when I'm sitting on my couch watching these games, watching DeAndre Ayton not handle the ball, bring it low, and lose the ball like he's Kwame Brown in 2006. Over and over. I mean, I've been watching this game long enough to know what it looks like. So for the Lakers, and let me just say this as well. In a weird way, they could make it to the Western Conference Finals. I'm crazy enough to think that, because LeBron James gets on the court, Luka gets on the court, AR gets on the court. they could beat the Houston Rockets in a 4-5 matchup, especially if they get home court, which is very likely if they win at least one of these next 3 games, because Houston would need to supersede the Lakers because the Lakers have the tiebreak. So
with them and Denver,
Now here's the kicker though. Can you beat? Now you're on OKC's side of the bracket. That's going to be pretty tough. I thought the pathway for the Lakers to get to the finals was Wolves or Rockets in the first round, Spurs in the second round because you had the 3 seed, and then the Nuggets knocking out OKC, and then you facing the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals with home court advantage and taking out the Nuggets. But now that you're on the side of the OKC bracket, going to be tougher to do that. I am crazy enough to think that they can possibly win if they have a full squad, but it's going to be very, very tough. But I do think that this team can and will win a first-round series, even if it's without Luka or AR. Like I think they could beat the Rockets without one of those 2 guys.
I don't think so.
In my opinion.
I respect your opinion. I think it was going to be a tall task regardless, but it looked to me that they had figured some things out in March, right? And part of playing great defense, Chaz, it's not just about desire. It's not just about intensity and energy. It's not even necessarily about athleticism and foot speed. It's about chemistry as well. And 5 guys working together and trusting each other where they're going to be. You combine that now with a bunch of lineups of guys not playing with one another at the same time, and guys playing in different roles like Luke Kennard is right now. Luke Kennard had a triple-double the other night against the Dallas Mavericks. I believe that was his first career triple-double. This guy, we just thought we were going to get a knockdown 3-point shooter. He's doing it all for the Lakers. But now you're asking him, go guard Cooper Flagg. Go guard, Steph Curry tomorrow night. Go guard Devin Booker. That is not Luke Kennard's game. And it's certainly not his game to initiate an offense. Now, he's showing he can do that. But my point is, if you're going to have that kind of a situation where you're banking on a guy like Kennard to not only take over playmaking, but now try to become one of your better perimeter defenders, you're up a creek without a paddle. It was going to be challenging enough as it is, even as well as the Lakers were playing, to play good defense against some of these more loaded teams in the Western Conference throughout the course of a 7-game series. And had they been healthy, I probably would have agreed with you. Yeah, they could take out Minnesota. They could take out potentially Houston. But now the Lakers are banged up. The Rockets are starting to put it together and string together some really good performances the last 3 weeks. Them along with Denver have quietly figured some things out after kind of a rough post All-Star break. They've both gotten healthy, and now everyone's looking at them the way they were looking at the Lakers a few weeks back. Like, damn, Denver and Houston are now starting to peak at the right time. I at least, if nothing else, their confidence is up. I still think Houston has a bit of a ceiling. Denver, I don't know if they can knock out OKC in a 7-game series, especially if they stay in that 4-5 matchup, if they don't get jumped by Houston. So we're going to see what happens. But the bottom line is the Lakers are going to compete hard. They may win a game or 2 in a first-round series. I just don't think they can knock out without Luka and without Reeves. Maybe without one of them, you could still eat series. But without both, and keep in mind, Chaz, look at their injuries. Hamstring and oblique.
No, bro, stop
re-aggravating.
misrepresenting my points on here. I am not saying that the Lakers can beat the Rockets in the playoffs without either AR or Luka. I think they can beat them with Luka and not AR. Would have a chance with AR and not Luka. But
I agreed with that point.
No, you said I think that I could beat the Rockets without AR or Luka. You said or is the operative word.
My bad. I misunderstood you, but I essentially agree with that. I said maybe, or if nothing else, Chaz, if they couldn't beat them, they could still make it a series. It wouldn't be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. Now, if you don't have both of them, and the chances are you may not have both of them, because you also have to think about the long game. AR is going to be a free agent this summer. He's got to think about his future. Luka's also got to think about his future. You do not want to mortgage that on the off chance that maybe or maybe not win a first-round series. It's a tricky situation. You want to see the heart to play out there, but at the same point in time, at what expense? That's the other thing you have to ask yourself.
We have so much other stuff to talk about. I did not think that we would talk Lakers for the first 20 minutes, but who gives a damn? Damn it. We're just having a free-flowing conversation. JJ Redick, keep doing what you're doing. I don't mind it. Any Laker fan or anybody that thinks that he's doing a bad job, I don't know what to tell you. You don't know basketball. Moving on to Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. Chris, this is just a sticky situation. And I'm not even gonna tee it up for you. I gotta tell you what I think here. I tweeted this out.
Yeah.
At this point, the NBA has investigated into the Bucks and Giannis. Giannis says that he's ready to play. The Bucks say that he's not. The Bucks have asked Giannis to shut it down. Giannis says no. The NBA is getting conflicting stories from Giannis and from the Bucks organization and members of the Bucks. It's a bad situation that has turned worse, and people are focusing on the fact that the Bucks just should have traded him, and it's come out in a Shams Charania story, of course, who does great work, that they had a package of Khalil Ware and Tyler Hero and some picks the day before the trade deadline, and then ultimately they decided not to trade Giannis. It actually doesn't sound like a bad package, but I do think that you could get more, and I do like the chances of the Lakers getting in on that in the summer because they had no chance at the deadline. So the Warriors could be in on that. Many other teams could be in on that. But at the end of the day, none of this happens unless Giannis does what every other superstar has done in that situation. He is the only one that is trying to get flowers on his way out and cares so much about what other people, specifically the Bucks fans think about him on the way out. So he wants to play. He doesn't want to publicly say that he wants to be traded. He's trying to do this all behind closed doors. It's not working because you're dealing with an organization who, ownership-wise, in my opinion, is a piece of shit because they have guys that one owner owns the team for a few years, and then Haslam comes in, owns the team for a few, and they just switch. So it's bullshit, really, is what it is, in my opinion. How they've made it this long and how they've won a championship in 2021 is in spite of their ownership, not because of their ownership, because that's how good Giannis is. But this is on Giannis. Well, this is on Giannis at this point. And I'm about to give it to you and tell you and tell you that at this point, Giannis had to have had said in January, just like AD did, get me up out. Not through the agent, not through behind closed doors, publicly. Go on the radio like Kobe did with Stephen A. Smith. I'd rather play on Pluto than for the Lakers.
Summer of 07.
Ultimately, he stayed because Jerry Buss is the best owner who's ever walked in the NBA, in my opinion. But Giannis, this is on you because you could have got your ass up out of there. You could have put the pressure. You could have done that, but you care more about what people think than your own personal situation and dealing with it. So deal with it. Deal with it. You're not going to play with your brothers. You're not playing again for the rest of the season because the Bucks are smart enough to not play you because you've had too many injuries, and they want to trade you for the most that they can get for you because you're not signing that supermax or that extension that they're going to offer you in October. You're going to tell them that you don't want to because you want to get up out of there, right? It's not really about the money for you. I highly doubt that Giannis is going to pull a situation where he's just going to sign for the money and then try and get traded after. I highly doubt that. So at this point,
I would hope not.
I hope he's not going to pull a Myles Garrett, right? Ranting and raving about wanting to get up out of Cleveland. And as soon as they offer you the money, you take it. And then you still want to complain about being in Cleveland. Nah, man, this isn't that. This is not that. This is the NBA. And you have to vocally, publicly say, not only I want to be traded, but I want to go here. AD, KD, you name it. Whoever has wanted to get traded in the last 10 years has had to come out and say it. James Harden,
Yeah, Harden a
Kyrie.
couple times. Yeah.
Harden is the master. Harden
Yeah.
needs to teach a fucking class on how to get this done. He's done it about 3 or 4 times and hasn't lost a single dollar. Giannis, you could learn from that brother. Now, his reputation isn't the greatest, but at least Giannis already has a ring.
Yeah, great points. I think fundamentally, I'm not going to push back on a lot. What I will say is this: I go back to the championship year in 21, and everyone says this and that about Mike Budenholzer. That's fine, but you could make the argument Bud brought a sense of stability there, and something that Giannis really allowed Giannis to go from a really good player to an all-star to a superstar. He was already on that, I think, as it is. Bud helped him overcome that, within a couple of years, and they eventually broke through and they won a championship. Drew Holiday was another major fixture in that organization. I know a lot of people, may not feel like Holiday has the cachet or the star power as, let's say, Giannis or Dame Lillard or anything like that. But these guys were the right fits next to Giannis at a critical juncture in his career and allowed him to flourish. They were, even Chris Middleton was the right kind of co-star next to him for a long time. And since they kind of cleared house and injuries have also played a lot into that, I think injuries have played a lot into their postseason failures. And a lot of times, Chaz, when you start making some of these moves, trading Drew Holiday to get Dame Lillard, that was a swing for the fences. They struck out. They got rid of Budenholzer. They brought in Adrian Griffin. They struck out. They fired Adrian Griffin 2 months in. Go ahead.
I just want to say really quick. Acquiring Dame wasn't the issue.
No,
it was waiving and stretching Dame for 20 plus million for the next 5 years of dead money on your books, and then making Miles Turner $100 million player when even the Pacers didn't want to give him $100 million is the issue.
Please. No, I was doing this in a timeline fashion. Yeah, you beat me to that. I was about to get to that. But I'm saying even having Dame on the team those 2 years did not work out the way they thought, right? It just didn't. Like everything that they tried to maximize this window has struck out. And when you keep striking out, Chaz, you keep swinging harder. You're not being patient. You're being more aggressive at times. It's like quicksand. Keanu Reeves from The Replacements. The harder you fight, the deeper you sink because you're in over your head. That's what happened to John Horst. That's what happened to Jimmy Haslam. They kept trying to double down and let it ride and bring in different stars and different coaches. Doc Rivers certainly hasn't worked, and now he's damn near out the door at this point. So everything has pushed Giannis to this point where I think in the sense, Chaz, they lost sight of who they were as a team, as an organization. The culture not only became problematic and somewhat toxic, it became non-existent. Who are the Milwaukee Bucks at this point? Not even Giannis himself, who's the longest tenured player on this team, along with Bobby Portis, can really say that he's been able to really recognize this team over the last 3 years since they parted ways with Bud, Holiday, and Middleton. So there you go. And everything has been a miss. Dame was a miss. The stretch provision, like you mentioned, was a miss. Doc was a miss. And all these other players, Kuzma and Kevin Porter Jr., who's out for the season with the knee injury, everything has just been a miss. So yeah, at this point, Giannis should just say, listen, I gave myself 13 years. I helped bring a championship here. I made this place a Eastern Conference powerhouse for a long time. The debt's been paid. At this point, you guys go your way and I go mine, and that's it. Like Billy Paul. Now she'll go her way and I'll go mine.
I just don't get what he thinks fans think. Like, just because you don't publicly say something, is Shams Charania just lying? And Ramona Shelburne just lying? The ownership just lying? Beat writers is everybody just lying about this situation for months and months on end? And you're a fool enough to think that Bucks fans don't think that you are asking out privately over and over and over again
Yeah.
Just because you're putting on the show that you're ready to play, which you might be, but it's very clear and obvious you don't want to ask out because you don't want the backlash. I just
It's
don't
sad. Yeah.
understand what he is like. Who is advising him at this point? Is his agent saying no? Like, don't say anything. Like, that's what I want to know at this point, because everything else is just clear and obvious
Right,
at
for
this point.
sure.
Especially if you've been around the league and you just know how things work, right? When Haslam says in an interview to Ramona Shelburne, we're either trading him or extending him.
Yeah.
He's not going to be on a lame duck. Like, when he said, it's clear and obvious that you asked out and they just didn't trade you. So
for sure. And now you got this investigation. Hold on. We didn't touch on this investigation about the player competition aspect of it now. And now Giannis is basically, it's almost like a fight between two kids on a playground. And now Adam Silver's the principal or the vice principal coming over saying, what's going on here? And, one of the kids, in this case, Giannis, is saying, hey, ask them. I was just chilling here. I'm doing my thing. Why don't you talk to them about what's going on? They're the ones that are violating league rules. He's essentially going to side with the league in an investigation against the team that he currently plays for. That's how you know things are bad, bro. That's how you know things are bad. So it's just a crazy situation right now. And this situation really has to come to an end because it's progressively gotten worse. You hope you reach a point where you could leave amicably, and now it's gotten to a point where there's going to be some hostility about this, and it's just sad, bro. I can't think of another word. Sad and unnecessary. All this crap, and they may need to step over each other in order to make themselves look good. And that's even the worst part too. Giannis has to step over Milwaukee to make himself look a certain way, like you're saying. And then Milwaukee now, in part, has to make themselves look like the ungrateful, parents, and, get, kind of push out the door one of the greatest stars this organization's ever had.
At this point, right now, today, I don't think it looks bad. Milwaukee is doing everything that they should do and are incentivized to do for their franchise. At this point,
they're doing the best for their organization. I get it. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I'm saying the perception down the road is going toward that direction that I just described. It's going toward that. It's trending that way. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's going to exactly be there right now, Chaz. I'm talking a few more moves down the road.
And Doc Rivers talking about coming out telling his players to Google me, and hinting at retirement. Like, you got your best player and your head coach are both 1 foot in and 1 foot out. One in retirement and one wants to go to another team.
Can I be honest with you?
I cannot wait for Doc Rivers to stop coaching in the NBA.
Doc Rivers should never have been hired in the first place. You want to get rid of Griff, that's fine. That was a bad move. Because I'm like, this is not a long-term move. You're hoping to catch lightning in a bottle for 2 years. And
it wasn't. But at the time you had Dame, and he was the best available coach at that time.
Yeah, but that 08 shine has worn off a lot, brother. I'm just saying that 08 shine has worn off a lot. Those years in the Sixers, the years with the Clippers, the how many 3-1 series leads being blown, the fact that they didn't get past Atlanta in 21, that to me just I think we're on the same page with it. I'm just saying to me, go ahead.
To you what? To you what?
Oh no, I thought you were gonna say something.
I was just gonna say the 2008 championship has been the most milked championship of all time. You think about the opportunities that Paul Pierce has gotten from that championship, KG has gotten from that championship, Prokhorov thinking that those guys were still like that 5 years later and trading all those picks for him was because of that championship. Doc Rivers getting multiple jobs after the Celtics because of that championship. Like, even this Bucks job because of that championship. Like, that championship has been Kendrick Perkins all over ESPN because of that in part He is a good talent as well, but in part because of that fucking championship. I mean, that 08 chip.
And now a Hall of Fame finalist, brother. A Hall of Fame finalist because of that championship too. You know, I mean, you want to be honest, his best coaching years were in Orlando. You want to really break it down, talking about doing a lot with less, with no Grant Hill and Tracy McGrady and a bunch of dudes that you couldn't recognize if they were standing in front of you in Costco. Those were his best years. Not Boston, not the Clippers, not Philly, and certainly not in Milwaukee. So, yeah, Doc, I like Doc. I covered Doc for a number of years when I was covering the Clippers. Great guy. Always enjoyed talking to him. Very personable, very charismatic. You know, I'm not even going to say he's a bad basketball mind. I think he's smart. But, you know, at the same point in time, when you've needed his best, unfortunately, he's floundered. I mean, that's just what it is. How many 3-1, 3-2 series leads has he blown in his career, Chaz? Even that 2010 series against, they were up 3-2, and they blew that series. Just saying.
I can say this because it's not personal, because I've never met or talked to or anything with the guy. I don't like him just based off of how he has thrown his contemporaries and his own players and his peers under the bus publicly time and time again. That's just my personal opinion. So with that being said, that's enough Doc Rivers on this fucking podcast. Let's move over to tanking and the Sacramento Kings and Doug Christie. My opinion, they just suck. But last night, with a team who is actually up by 1 point with under 3 minutes to go in Golden State, Draymond Green had some really good comments about tanking, saying in closing, or in short, I should say, that the league holds players accountable for anything that they do. 12 teams are tanking, but only 2 have been fined. Math isn't good. I don't know about the other 10, but it's a players' league. Yeah, he said sarcastically. So, Chris, what did you make of these comments? And I actually have a development about this whole situation after you go. Go ahead.
Oh, for sure. I'll keep it quick on this. Draymond brought up some good points, but also too, Chaz, I've said on this podcast, this isn't just a player issue with the load management or the tanking or everything. We have to look at what these players are being told to do by coaches, by general managers, by, you know, ownership and everything like that. You know what I mean? And sometimes these players, you know, can only do so much, right? It is a players' league. The players have certainly been more empowered over the last decade, certainly in the Adam Silver era, but that still comes with its own limitations. So I don't disagree with Draymond's arguments and whatnot, but that's also kind of a but or whataboutism. And I just, the only pushback I'll say on Draymond is careful with the whataboutism too. You know what I mean? I don't disagree with you. And I have personally called out organizations on this show, not just because of the tanking thing, but they can also be the drivers of load management, not the players themselves, but the organizations coddling these players as well. I also believe that is a real thing. So I agree in part. I just would advise careful with the whataboutism, because last I checked, 2 wrongs don't make a right. So I agree in 90% of it. I would just advise on that other aspect too. Don't throw one thing under the bus to try to, you know, take, you know, people's focus away from the fact that load management is still a problem in this league. But that's not even completely the players' faults either. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. That's what I'm about to say. There's not a single player, including
but I said that
LeBron
on the show
James.
Before. Yeah.
You have, but I'm just reiterating. There's not a single player in this league, including LeBron James, that gets to unilaterally make decisions about when they play and when they don't play, especially if there's an actual injury that they're nursing. That's just not how the NBA is ran anymore. Gary Vitti doesn't just come up to Kareem and say, "Hey, how you feeling tonight, big guy?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm good to go," and he clears him. That's just not how it is anymore. It's 45, almost 50 years later at this point. And you have not just a team doctor or a trainer, teams of doctors and trainers and analytic guys and numbers and the coach and the GM and their guys, their advisors, ownership, whatever you may have it. that are all
For sure.
having a say in when a guy plays and when he doesn't. Like Wemby right now with his rib injury, where the Spurs, luckily enough, are able to take care of the Portland Trailblazers and get that much closer to a 1 seed if OKC is going to lose, which they probably won't. But Wemby's going to have to play in one of these final 2 games, and we'll talk about the 65-game rule coming up here shortly. But ultimately, the new developments with the Kings are they just suck.
Yeah.
I've read plenty of threads and plenty of stories and watched the game in real time. And Doug Christie said he thought he had a foul to give when Seth Curry was fouled with 3 minutes left and they were up 1 point. He thought they had a foul to give. They didn't. They just suck.
Yeah, and
they're not Sacramento all year. Sacramento, the Wizards, the Pelicans. This is where I disagree with Draymond. There's not 12 teams tanking. I mean, at this point, with 5 games to go, maybe, but generally speaking, there really has only been about 3 or 4 teams actually tanking. The Jazz is the absolute worst team. They were fine. They are absolutely tanking and probably should tank, to be honest with you, in my opinion. But the Kings are one of the teams that are just god awful. They're not tanking. They're trying to win every game that they can. They just fucking can't because there's no talent on the court. Everybody's old on their team, and their coach is an interim coach turned head coach turned that was a former player that has good relationships within the organization still. So I don't think that he'll be back, in my opinion. And the Kings are victims of misinformation. I don't think that they were tanking last night.
No, I don't think so either. They, unfortunately, the Kings had a pretty good 3-year run. When you look at it, go back to 2023 to 2025, they've been in the mix in some form or fashion, particularly in the play-in situation. Mike Brown, unfortunately, didn't really get to see that process through. And then Christie kind of comes in and, did a pretty good job last year getting them through the play-in, but then they lost, I think, to who was it? Memphis, somebody knocked him out. I think it was Dallas in the 9-10 matchup. So, unfortunately, things just have not worked out this year, even though they brought in DeRozan, they had Levine and Westbrook, and, Sabonis hasn't been healthy all year. They've just really been, this is, I think, just one of those years for Sacramento where they've kind of reverted back to old ways. But when you have a miserly, inept owner like they do in Vivek Ranadiv, that's going to happen. You know what I mean? That's the whole situation. So, but the thing is, it's easy to say, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. So, people are either going to believe it, Chaz, or they're not. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of where we're at now, where a lot of these guys just don't get the benefit of the doubt. But I don't know I think there are levels though to it. I think there are teams out there that are blatantly tanked in all sports. And I think there are teams that are just bad. And I think Sacramento may just fall in that situation where they're just bad. That's just what it is. And they've been hit hard with injuries this year to some of their best players. And maybe had all those guys been healthy, they could have been at least in a position for the 9-10 matchup like they have been in the last, couple of years. But they weren't even good enough to do that because they lost Levine. They lost Sabonis. Now DeRozan, I think, is out for them, and Westbrook is out. So I think now they may be more in tank mode, but with 3 games left in the season, I just don't know if people should put as much stock into that as they should. But you're right. It does set a bad precedent if you're doing that, whether you're doing it in game 1 or game 79. You just you want as much good competition as you can out there because you don't want people to switch to channels saying, I don't want to see a team lose by 36 points, even at this late stage of the season. By the way, OKC just went final with the Clippers. They blew them out
19
tonight.
points. Chet Holmgren, 30 points, 14 rebounds. Wemby, play your 20 minutes in one of these last games. Get your defensive player of the year. Get your first team All-NBA and get ready for the playoffs. The 1 seed and 2 seed are locked up. I believe the 3 seed.
Chaz, when was the last time a defending champion won 64 games, man? I think maybe the Warriors, the year they won 73. I don't recall a champion being this good after a championship season. I know they've been 1 seeds, but never this good after a championship year. I just wanted to throw that out. Shout out to OKC,
Chris,
their amazing season.
Chris, I'm gonna say it. I don't think OKC is that good this year. Yes, last year, but this year,
yeah,
I don't think that they're that good. Like
okay,
they started the season good,
right, yeah.
but for 75% of the rest of the season, if how they've been playing was what it was that first quarter of the season, they wouldn't have won 60 games, in my opinion.
And yet
The Spurs would have
yet
had
they've
them.
won 64. Right. No, of course. Spurs are the only team I think that could actually challenge them in a 7-game series. You know, I think Denver can to a certain extent. I just still think that
Oh,
the
Denver
wing.
can.
Yeah,
Denver
no,
will absolutely take them out. Now, I'm not predicting that they will.
but I think,
I guess I am, since I'm predicting the
yeah,
Nuggets will win it all. But I just think the Nuggets and the Spurs. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I would say so. But what makes San Antonio so unique is the youth and the athleticism and the amount of different guys that they could throw at Chet, throw at J-Dub, and particularly throw at Shea. You know what I mean? And then they also have a guy like Fox, and everyone's like, oh, De'Aaron Fox. But De'Aaron Fox, if Shea gives you 25, De'Aaron Fox could wash out some of that production. Even if he can't slow down Shea, he could wash out some of that production with a 22, 24-point game. So instead of Shea at the guard position being a plus 16 or a plus 20, now in the series against San Antonio, between what he would have to deal with Castle and with Fox, it would probably be like a plus 4. You know what I'm saying? And those things can matter throughout the course of a series. So all I'm saying, I agree though. I think Denver, because of Joker, because of Murray, the experience that they have, they're well coached, they're deeper this year. And they certainly have the vets that won't, shy away from the moment. And they're finally healthy, Chaz. That's the other thing too. They're finally healthy. As soon as, if they can just get Peyton Watson back before the playoffs, they're going to be a tough out. I agree with you. I think it's San Antonio and it's Denver, but San Antonio is very intriguing because of their youth and athleticism. And of course, that monster in the middle.
People don't want to put a ceiling on the Spurs, but they don't have a single player outside of De'Aaron Fox that has been there before, and De'Aaron Fox hasn't even been out of the first round. So
exactly,
I'm going to tell you right now, the Spurs are not going to the finals. They may go to the Western Conference Finals, but they're not going to the finals. It's the Nuggets or the Thunder, in my opinion. Moving on to one of these last topics before we get on out of here. I'm going to save the AD stuff for next week. I'm just going to say that on here because there's so much to unpack with that. And I don't want to get into it and then we're way over. But let's talk about this 65-game rule really quick before we get on out of here, Chris. I'm just going to pose it to you like this. We already know what it is with this rule. Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, LeBron James, Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, pending an appeal that he has for possibly going to Slovenia for the birth of his daughter at one point during the season. Victor Wembanyama, if he doesn't play at least 20 minutes in one of these last 2 games of the season. There are notable names that have had great seasons, MVP type seasons, Defensive Player of the Year type seasons, All NBA type seasons that are not going to be eligible or on the verge of being ineligible for these awards. And these awards are directly connected to triggers in contracts for millions of dollars. So with that being said, Chris, did Adam Silver make an executive call and amend this rule? Or do you think it needs to stay?
That's a tough one because all of these injuries have been they've all been legit. This isn't about guys skipping time because they just don't want to play. These have all been legitimate injuries to guys who want to play, who want to hoop. Ant-Man wants to hoop. Luka wants to hoop. Cade's had a phenomenal year. You think that he was not out there for, people always say, what do you think? I'm out here for my health. But in his case, he was not out there because of his health. I think there needs to be, if he's not going to change the rule, like get rid of it completely, Chaz, he's got to add some amendment to it where it's like, if it is a legitimate injury or something along those lines, maybe we push it back from 65 to like 55 or something like that. The whole point of this was to incentivize the star players for not taking as much off. was the spirit of this rule. But now this comes back, this blows back in your face like, soot in the tailpipe, for standing too close, because there were so many star players, including even guys like that you didn't even mention, Joel Embiid, but I mean, I know he's been injury prone, or Giannis, who had legitimate injuries this year. And, Halliburton hasn't played all year. Tatum missed 200 days of the season. So, I mean, it's something that he's got to go back to the drawing board on and give an out for legitimate injuries. Otherwise, you're going to get a tier 2 player making all NBA teams that really had no business making it in the first place. So I think it's something that, if it's not going to get abolished, certainly change, but I still don't even know what that looks like exactly. I'm just telling you what they should consider doing. I mean, what do you think?
No, this rule needs to be not changed, abolished entirely, because the rule was to get guys to play games given the contract you have with AM and RC now, and your continued partnerships with ESPN and no longer TNT, but ABC as well. That's the reason for the rule, to make guys play so that way. But guess what? Luke Kennard is still on the advertisement for the national TV game for the Lakers, because the Lakers are without LeBron, Luka, and AR. So the reason why this rule was implemented was to get guys to play more. But guess what? Guys are still load managing, or guys are actually fucking hurt. So are you going to have somebody catch a stray just because you want to implement a rule that isn't even working for why you're implementing it in the first place? Now, look, most people will say that this is not a net negative. It has, in my opinion, guys are playing more and more consistently than they were, in my opinion, but there are legitimate injuries. I don't think you should not take to disqualify somebody from awards, because I was listening to Ramona Shelburne on 710, and I've mentioned her more than once on this pod because I really respect her opinion and the way that she covers the league, among many other guys and gals as well. But specifically her, I heard her say, because she actually has a vote for NBA awards, she's always taken into account how many games guys play even before the rule was implemented. So why won't we just trust the people that we give a vote to, or the league trust the people that they give a vote to? Because those people are able to say, okay, this guy only played 59 games, but he was the most impactful of these players, and he needs to be on first team, second team, defensive player, MVP, on the ballot, whatever it is. We have to trust the people that we give a vote to. Now, there are times where people that get a vote don't vote for the right person, and we know how that goes with the Hall of Fame and with other voting series as well. Like we've seen it many times and many times over. So I can't sit here and say it's 100% exactly. But I would rather see somebody get votes who's not really supposed to get votes than somebody be completely ineligible that's obviously eligible and the best player for a certain award. Like Wemby this season, there's not a single player that should win. If Wemby doesn't play these next 2 games and Draymond gets defensive player of the year, not to say that I'm just throwing this name out there. If Draymond were to get it, Draymond should accept the award publicly and say, I'm giving this to Victor Wembanyama regardless of whatever rule that there is, because he was clearly like the defensive player of the year. So in my opinion, scrap the rule. Don't amend it. Don't change it. Don't get it out of here, because you're messing with guys' money. You're messing with guys' pride. I heard somebody say Cade Cunningham would welcome being a martyr for being part of a rule change instead of being first team All-NBA. Bump that. No. Cade Cunningham, I guarantee you, if you asked him directly, wants to be recognized as one of the top 15 best players in the NBA before being recognized as a martyr for some rule that may or may not be changed.
For sure. And by the way, you talked about bonuses too. There's something else that it was a story I saw. Giannis now may not bonus because of lack of games played. So this isn't just a bonus based on your team's contract. There is sponsorship bonus that could endorsements. Yes. Exactly. You know, it kind of reminds me of that scene in Any Given Sunday where LL Cool J is just like, Reebok's got this whole ad campaign laid out the moment I hit 1,000 yards, but it's ABC, man. I don't get the ball. I don't get my stats. I don't get my money. And I like getting my money, coach. That movie was so far ahead of its time, Chaz. It's not even funny. But LL Cool J, just like Giannis, are right. If I don't get a chance to play, not only am I not getting, bonuses, team incentives, for reaching a certain games or reaching a certain point milestone, but now that affects my endorsement money too. And now that's a problem down the road as well. So there's a lot in there, but knowing Adam Silver, he's going to go back to the drawing board on this, work with the owners, work with the players, and try to come up with something comprehensive that they could agree on. I don't know if you're going to be lucky enough to get a straight up abolishment, but if I were a betting man, an abolishment may not come for a couple of years. I think they're going to try an amendment first and then see how that works. And then if they still keep running into this problem, then they just may scrap it all together. But who knows?
Yeah, of course.
It could be addressed.
Because you don't look, people don't want to admit when they're wrong. So you're going to see an amendment before you see an abolishment. But I'll just tell you right now, they should abolish this rule because it's doing more harm than good, in my opinion. Some might say otherwise, but that's just what I think and what I think.
I think this year it has. But also too, Chaz, don't forget too, and I just want to bring this up for a sec. The 2021 MLB playoffs. Do you remember that? Dodgers took out the Giants in the first round, and then they lost to the Braves in the NLCS, right? The Dodgers won 106 games that year, second most games. Giants won the division at 107. The rule was the wild card team does not get home field advantage, even though they were 18 games better than Freddie Freeman's Atlanta Braves. They had to start that series in Atlanta. And everybody was saying, oh, the wild card rules got to change and this and that. And what eventually happened? They made the wild card a series, a 3-game series, instead of just a 1-game playoff. My point being is, should the league have addressed that and said, whoever's a wild card team, if they come out of that series against the Giants, which the Dodgers did, should the Dodgers now have home field based on record, not necessarily who won their division? You know what I mean? That's where things sometimes get a little hazy. And the reason why I bring that up is because in this case, because of all of the injuries, does that make the rule necessarily flawed, or just flawed for this year because of the extremities of it? Just like the wild card rule in the MLB. That's the one thing I just think needs to be diagnosed a little bit more. I hope that comparison made sense, but I'm looking at you and you're looking at me as if to say this motherfucker was in Japan for too long.
It's just I get it. It's just apples to oranges. It's not really but I understand the premise. It's just the wild card rules, the rules in the MLB with the playoffs and is still needs work, in my opinion. So it's
right.
It's not exact, but at the end of the day, baseball is something that the NBA is not. And right now, in my opinion, baseball is progressive and the NBA is not. So,
and baseball, once again, Chaz, they have gotten a lot right in rule changes in the last
hold on. I take that back. The NBA is progressive. They just can't hit on whatever decision that they make. The MLB.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah. That's
you did. I don't want to get. I don't want to take.
Progressive may not have been the right term. No. I hear your point. We're making the same point. I just didn't agree. I don't agree with the progressive statement. I think both leagues are trying to be progressive, but yeah, I think we both agree MLB is just hitting on more of these ideas have been successful, and the NBA's ideas have just not as many have worked the last few years. Even the play-in tournament it's made it a little more interesting, but I didn't feel as much buzz this year as the first couple of years with it. So, but you know what I mean? It was also 4 months ago. So who knows? Who knows if it's just, what have you done for me lately, or being prisoner of the moment?
No doubt. No doubt. Well, on that note, you got an extra, what, 20, 30 minutes,
20 minutes
of outlet forum?
Yeah, 20.
So appreciate you guys for tapping in with the outlet forum. You guys know where to find us. We are going to be here every week going into the rest of the season until we probably hit about free agency. Like once we're in that summer league, 3 months from now area of the season, we might, take a little break then. But then you got us every week all through the playoffs and going to free agency. So thank you guys. And Chris, follow you. And anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, first of all, it's great to be back after 2 weeks. Oh yeah, absolutely. You can follow me at Chris_Camelo on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. C Camelo1 on Instagram. It's great to be back. Be sure to follow us on the outlet forum on IG, on X, as well as on YouTube. And just a quick shout out: a Dodger icon passed away today. Davey Lopes passed away at the age of 80. He was part of that iconic infield, Chaz, in the 70s with Ron Say, Bill Russell, Steve Garvey. Those guys drove the Dodgers in the 70s. Unfortunately, they couldn't get past the hump that was the New York Yankees. But Davey Lopes was an exceptional player, 4-time All-Star, a Gold Glover. He was a great ambassador for the Dodgers. Was also a very good position coach and first base coach in the years that followed his career. He coached all over the place, including the Philadelphia Phillies, was part of their 2008 championship team that went up against the Dodgers in the NLCS. But everything that I've heard today about Lopes was not only what a great baseball player he was, what a great coach he was, just a good person. It just seemed like he was just a good dude, very down to earth, very humble, and certainly a Dodger icon. And obviously one of those guys that may not have been a Hall of Famer, but well respected. And obviously, Chaz, his heyday was before you and I had hatched. But you don't need to be watching these guys to appreciate their impact on an organization or their impact on the game. So rest in peace, Davey, and thank you for everything.
Rest in peace, another Dodger icon. On that note, we'll close it out. Appreciate you guys. We will see you guys next week on this edition of the Outlet Forum.